Let's talk about the IFI Go Pod and why these were such a pleasant surprise. I was completely not expecting these to be as good as they are. These are way better than I was expecting. Let's talk about it. So the IFI Go Pods, first let me start by saying I have gone to consistent, extensive lengths to maintain the source quality of my material that I listen to at CD quality or above. I work really hard and I'm willing to do backflips to avoid lossless, avoid Bluetooth, avoid source material that is below CD quality. I'm not really concerned with above CD quality, but it's been really important to me to keep my listening source input at CD quality as a base and not be below. That's part of the reason these IFI Go Pods surprised me so much and in such a positive way. So let me just tell you, first of all, I've been listening to a number of different IEMs on the Go Pods, but I needed to also compare those same IEMs on a wired solution. Okay, so these are the Manguard Zenz T2, $350 IEM on the IFI Go. And look at how this case is really, it's too big to fit in your pocket. It's perfect for throwing in a backpack or in a jacket pocket. I found it great at, throwing it in the center console here in the car. Works great. But this thing is, I don't know if you can see, yeah, it's fully charged. It tells you, I never plug it in here. I just drop it on a wireless charger. And in fact, I do it in this direction. And when I drop it on, it shows me, there's like two lights left and it flashes while it's charging. Really, do I wish it was a little bit smaller in something like this that goes so easily in my pocket? Yes, but this does a lot. And it sits by my bedside, and the size of the form factor has bothered me less than I anticipated before I got my hands on these. But going back to comparing, so I listened on the Zenz T2, I listened on the Zenz Up, which is $700 IEM. I listened on my Letshouer D13s, those three. The Letshouer, $120 maybe MSRP, but I paid, I think, $89 on sale at Amazon. You can commonly find them for $100 or $90. A single 13mm dynamic driver, my most efficient IEM. They're very sensitive. And so I did most of my listening with those three, although I also tried the Moondrop Kato and the Moondrop Aria 2 on them, but it can just become too much. So I focused on these three at price points of basically $100, $350, and $700. All IEMs that I really like. So first, I wanted to go back and sort of set a benchmark of what does the IEM sound like? Because these IFI Go Pods are a true wireless system that are fully balanced, and in each unit have their own Cirrus Logic DAC chip, their own Snapdragon high-level Bluetooth chip, which has an amplification phase to it, but they're not using that. They're using a separate Class D amplification. It's a little bit harder to discern from the material that's online, and I've really looked for what exactly they're using for the amplification. So it's not the amplification built into the Snapdragon Bluetooth chip. It's separate. So each side has separate in its own DAC chip, amplification stage, and Bluetooth phase. So it's true wireless, but it's fully balanced also. But the reason I did so much research trying to find out more information about the amplification phase is I've been super impressed with these IFI Go Pods add something to the sound of your IEMs in the signal chain, in the same way when I listen wired, when I'm listening on the Mojo 2, upside down and backwards, when I'm listening on the Mojo 2 versus when I'm listening on the R2R ladder DAC, the Cayin RU6, which is maybe my, I don't know, I love that. Or on the Qdelix, this the Qdelix 5K, which is Bluetooth and wired and is Class D. Each of those DAC amps changes the sound of my IEMs because it's changing the signal path with the amplification type and the DAC type and quality. So each of those make I expect them to make my IEM sound differently, and they do. I was not expecting the IFI Go Pod, and I don't know, maybe I wasn't thinking about it properly, but I didn't expect these to have an impact on the sound quality in the signal chain. So what I'm talking about is when, let's just take because they're on here, the Mangard Zenz T2. Love that IEM. It's an excellent, I'll tell you what, for $350 with 200 or 250 bucks for the Cayin RU6, put those two together, that is a beautiful synergistic pairing, and you're 600 bucks and you've got high-end audio listening right in your pocket, that wherever you are on the go, on the move, you can pull it out of your pocket, pop those in, listen to your title streaming on your phone, and it's 96 or 97%, I'm going to say, of the audio quality of being in my listening position, in my listening spot in the living room. Maybe 96%, but anywhere. Fantastic listening experience. So I really like the Zenz T2. So started right at the bottom of the food chain, listening on the Apple dongle. The Apple dongle is kind of rolled off. It's not a bad experience. You can, I could live with that, but I want better. So it's okay, but the high end is clearly rolled off some. You go to, this is ddHIFI, less than $100. I think this is maybe a $50 or $60 DAC amp. Op amps, Class D amplification. It's dual Cirrus Logic DAC chips. So I wanted to kind of listen to this because it's also Cirrus Logic, like the IFI Go. So first we're listening wired from my iPhone to the Apple dongle. Okay, that's, you know, a palatable experience. Switch to the ddHIFI dongle DAC with dual Cirrus Logic DAC chips. A lot more power than the Apple dongle. I don't think there was a real change in the bass or the mid-range, but the high end, much clearer, much more highly resolving. But here's the thing about highly resolving. Highly resolving can very quickly become treble glare and just too bright and too much treble energy. So for instance, on muted trumpet from Miles Davis, on Someday My Prince Will Come, and even on some of the high piano notes from the same track, Someday My Prince Will Come, with Wynton Kelly playing, there's just a little bit of too much treble energy with this DAC, in my opinion, for my ears. Look, we have to acknowledge everyone's, as you get older, your ears, you start to lose some of the high end. Most of us have made some mistakes when we were younger at concerts or with fireworks, and we may have done some damage to our ears. And everyone has different biomechanics in the diameter and the length of their ear canal, which affects what each of us hear when we put in the same IEM. So we're all different. And what you like for bass, you know, how much you want for bass and how accurate or how enhanced you want it, is a personal choice. It may be different from mine. Same in the high end and the treble. What we enjoy, what is treble glare to me might be highly resolving to you, but this has too much energy to it. Hey. So I didn't want to go from that to the R2R ladder DAC in the Cayin RU6 because I know something about this RU6 from Cayin adds an analog flavor to the signal path. And for me, what I experience different between when I listen to the Zens T2 versus the Zens Up, the Zens T2 are more bright, have more treble energy. And it's a little bit my favorite is the Zens T2 with the R2R ladder DAC from Cayin. That just smooths the treble energy and makes it perfect for me. It gives it the smoothness and the beauty that I want. This R2R ladder DAC adds that. So I didn't want to jump to that. I wanted to go from, all right, dual Cirrus Logic DAC chips. The Go Pods have the same. So I went straight to isn't that pretty, the Zens in there with those little lights on it. It's, I don't know, they look sharp. They look better in here than just in normal daylight when they're on the wire. But what I was surprised to discover when I went the same IEMs, the Zens T2, on the IFI Go Pods, there was more bass than here. Not a lot, but a little bit more bass on the IFI Go Pods. But what I loved most and just surprised me was that bass had a deeper, richer tonality to it. Now, let me explain the way I think about tonality and richness. I find a lot of Class D, even some, Class AB amplification as too neutral, a little dry, Class D for certain dry, and sterile. And what that means to me is piano on Class D amplification often sounds like, I know the recording was made with a grand piano, but it sounds like an upright piano. It doesn't have the richness and the tonality that 8 or 10 foot grand piano is built for those strings to resonate and add a richness to the keys when they are played that you just can't get on an upright piano. So especially in bass notes on a grand piano, I want it to sound with that resonance of a grand piano. And on the IFI Go Pods, when I listen to my jazz music with grand pianos in it, it has that depth that it clearly sounds like a grand piano, not an upright piano. Love that. That was completely coming from the Go Pods being in the signal path. I don't know, it's Cirrus Logic DAC, chips. I really think it was coming from the amplification. And this is, from what I could tell, Class D amplification. I can't find out really, it doesn't say if they're op amps or what they're doing, but this does not sound like what I consider dry, sterile Class D amplification. On the mids and especially the bass tones, there is a tonal richness that I love and was the big upside surprise for me. Now, on the treble end, nowhere near as bright as on this ddHIFI DAC. No treble glare with the IFI Go. Not rounded, and this is just a little bit veiled in the treble for me. It takes away the harshness, but it takes too much away, in my opinion. And again, for me, the Cayin RU6 R2R ladder DAC is perfection in terms of the smoothing out the treble on the Mangrid Zenz T2. The treble, the high end on the IFI Go Pods, no treble glare, but it's right at my personal limit. I'm not a person who EQs, but if I had the ability to pull down the treble on the T2s through the IFI Go Pods by half a decibel, maximum 1 dB, but probably just half, so my definition of treble glare, think about when, I don't know about you, I wear sunglasses all the time. I have a collection of Oakley sunglasses. I never go out in the sun with that. So I'm sensitive to it. So if I walk out in the sun, bright midday sun without sunglasses, I'm just naturally gonna squint because it's too bright. And you squint and you make this face. just like the glare in the sun. Now, I'll point out I have a buddy who never wears sunglasses, and he's out in the sun all the time, and it doesn't bother him. I think that's a great example of how what's treble glare to me may not be treble glare to your ears. Where it's too much treble and there's too much energy and it makes us wince a little bit, it's different for all of us. But for me, with the IFI Go Pods paired with the Zen's T2, I did not get treble glare, but I was right on the edge of it. I prefer the treble on my Cayin RU6 with the Zen's T2. But the bass and especially the bass tonality, I think the Go Pods give a little bit more bass, like maybe 1 dB more than I'm hearing on the Cayin, but with the comparable tonality and richness, that concert piano tonality that I'm looking for. One other comment about on the high end, I talked about the concert piano and that tonal richness versus does it make a concert piano sound like an upright piano? Well, at the treble, while I'm not getting treble glare with these, I use a song by jazz musician Nelson Rangel, who is primarily a jazz saxophone player, but he also plays the flute and the piccolo, and I love some of his work with the flute. And the flute can generate a lot of treble energy, a lot. And the flute is a beautiful instrument, but it can sound harsh if your audio gear and your audio system is not right. So for instance, what I listen for, did some of you experience, as I did in school, that they did a lot of music and teaching in elementary school and middle school with a recorder? Do you remember a recorder? It's like a flute, but it's not a real flute. It's a recorder. Do you know what I'm talking about? Google it, you'll see. And to me, that's in the same way I'm looking for a grand piano to sound like a grand piano on my gear and not like an upright piano. I'm also looking for a flute to sound like a flute and not like a recorder, because a recorder is more dry and doesn't have, a flute can just, it has an ethereal, angelic, it can just sound so beautiful, but on the wrong gear, it can make it sound like a recorder and make it sound harsh. So on the IFI Go Pods, Nelson Rangel's song, I Loved You, and I'll put a link in the description. It's just a concert grand piano and Nelson Rangel playing the flute. Nothing more, just those two instruments. So it's a great song. You get to hear, am I getting that concert grand bass resonance that I'm looking for? And then what happens with that treble energy from the flute? Does it sound beautiful and magical and ethereal and just, it does something amazing to my ears? Or does it sound like a recorder, or does it sound harsh? So, answer. That Nelson Rangel song on the ddHIFI dongle DAC sounds like a recorder and sounds harsh. It's not pleasant to listen to. That flute treble energy is just too much. And this is with the same, the Mangrud Zenz T2. On the IFI Go Pods, no treble glare, it's not harsh, it's pleasant to listen to, but at times the flute sounds like a recorder. Not most of the song, but there are a couple of points right about just after the 1 minute mark that it doesn't sound, the flute doesn't sound as good as I know it can and it should. And when I listen on the Zenz T2, same IEMs, on the Cayin RU6, it sounds ethereal, magical, delicious, sweet. It sounds the way it should sound. So, now, remember, wired with the ddHIFI dongle DAC, wired with the Cayin RU6 R2R ladder DAC. All of that comparison, primarily I settled on the Mangrud Zenz T2, but remember, these are wireless. I was listening both on, well, I can't show you, I picked up for $100 on Amazon a refurbished Pixel 6 Android phone just so I could try LDAC on these. And that's the camera that I'm using to record this on, so I can't show you. But that comparison was all Bluetooth, all wireless. And I wanted to know what the best could sound like with the LDAC, and I did. However, all of that description I also did on AAC with my iPhone. And here's LDAC or AAC. LDAC technically, measurably, is better. And this goes back to the beginning of this review where I said, I work so hard to avoid lossless and to get CD quality streams that are lossless. Well, LDAC is one of the best and least lossy Bluetooth. AAC is not one of the best. It's lossy Bluetooth. But I gotta tell you, not all songs could I tell the difference between LDAC and AAC. Some songs I couldn't hear a difference. Some I could, but not all. And the difference so minor, and it was an extra annoyance to use the, not my regular iPhone. I ended up just using my iPhone on AAC and was blown away at the quality and the high-end level of the sound reproduction I was hearing with primarily the Zenz T2, but also with the Letshouer D13s. One thing about the Letshouer D13s, they're super sensitive, and on the IFI Go Pods, I found that, how very sensitive, like 93, maybe 90 and above, sensitive speakers, you have a tendency to be able to listen to them at lower volumes, like in the 60 dB range, like for me, 65 to 70 dB, which is my nighttime listening, is the softer listening. And typically on speakers for me that have sensitivity in the 80s, I need the volume to be 70 dB and above to really get all of the detail, I feel like, or else I'm just sort of losing some with the ambient noise around. But on high efficiency speakers, I tend to be very satisfied at 65 to 70 dB in the listening room, and I feel like I'm getting all of the resolution. I felt that with the Letshouer D13s on the IFI Go Pods, that I could listen softer at lower volume levels, and I was getting everything. I wasn't like grabbing for the volume control to turn it up, and it sounded terrific. So I just thought that was interesting to note about the high efficiency Letshouer D13s. So I want to show you a couple of things on the iPhone. Actually, what I'm going to do is we're going to connect to my iPhone here. Okay, now I'm connected, and I'm just doing that because I want to show you on the iPhone. It doesn't do this on the Pixel 6 that I could find, but on your iPhone, your AAC, not LDAC, but when you pull down up above, and you know what, I'm going to start playing something. You won't be able to hear it, but so that you can see everything. All right, when you pull down, look at here, and I want you to notice right here, with the look at what this gives you. Can you see that? It says Go Pod, and it shows you your decibel level that you're listening at. And here, I'll increase. I think I use this a lot. Now, you notice I'm changing the volume control. You can double tap, single tap, triple tap for, pause. I think it's single tap pauses, double tap goes to the second, triple tap goes back, and you can press and hold for the volume. I found the volume moved up and down too fast for me, and I really like the highly graduated volume control on the Cayin RU6 and on the Chord Mojo 2. I like to really precisely be able to control the volume on IEMs. I couldn't do that the way I wanted. There were a couple times that it's like, with the volume control on the side, it's too high and then it's too low. And then look what I found. So I'm going to scroll back up from here. So you see the volume right here? If you press and hold, now I can drag and very minutely adjust and get the volume on the Go Pods exactly where I want it. And then tap up here to go back, and then it took me a while to sort of discover this, but these controls on the iPhone made a bigger difference for me in my listening experience and my convenience and the overall listening experience, because these are wireless. They're about convenience. I'm not tethered to anything. I can move around, and this became more important to me than the very small sound quality difference than AAC versus LDAC. And I found I preferred listening on AAC, the worse, in the more lossy format, with my iPhone with these controls than I did in LDAC on the the Pixel 6. It just wasn't worth the added effort to listen on the Pixel 6 to get LDAC. It just wasn't worth it. So here I'm gonna, and I gotta tell you also, they're truly wireless. They work the way your AirPods do. I took one out, the music keeps playing, I put one back. I don't, when I'm out and around, don't always want to be completely isolated in music for safety concerns. And so sometimes I just put, one in my ear, but I've worn these for hours and I've never had any fatigue from this behind the ear or the weight or in. If your IEMs are comfortable that you're plugging into them, I think you will find these all day comfortable. And the thing is, because this frees you from the wire and frees you to go out in the world, wherever you may be, to enjoy a high fidelity listening experience to the music that you love, you often can listen for longer periods of time than when you're at home and it's like, okay, I've got 30 minutes, I can really sit down and enjoy listening. I'll tell you what, I don't know your experience, but it's hard to find a 2-hour window that I can just do nothing and enjoy listening to music. I love that, but time's valuable. That's hard to carve out that kind of time to really enjoy that. But out and around, out in the world, and you can take your listening with you. Now, I've settled on the iPhone, not the Google Pixel 6, with AAC, Bluetooth, I'm using, I rotate them around, but I've kind of settled on the $350 Zenz T2 and the Letshouer D13s as my two favorite pairings. And sometimes I worry about putting $350 headphones that I'm taking with me, and I'll put the less expensive that I can replace easily, the Letshouer D13s in. But yes, they're $400. All right, so IEMs are, the Zenz T2 are $350. The Go Pods are $400. So $700. But I have been extremely surprised as someone who is insistent on CD quality listening source. I've been having a great high fidelity music listening experience in places that I couldn't before, with no fuss, no fuss. Highly recommend, if you have IEMs, it's worth a $400 investment, in my opinion. Pick up an IFI Go Pod. I don't think you'll regret it. Buy it on Amazon. Buy it someplace that you can return it easily if you are disappointed. But I really don't think you will be disappointed. And if you don't have IEMs, I'll tell you what. If you want to spend $1,000 and get a great listening experience, spend $400 on IFI Go Pods. Spend $250, although you can find it for $225 or $200. Cayin RU6 as your sources. That's $650. And buy a Mangered Zenz T2 for $350. Or well, there are a number of really good $300 to $400 IEMs out there. The Apos.audio Hype 4 would be a terrific pairing here. I haven't listened yet, but I'm waiting for that new XDuoo collab, the DACs ddHIFI. I think $300 that would be a really good pairing here. That's a really nice, or Yeah, you taking your high fidelity music experience with you, with IEMs and with IFI Go Pod, I highly recommend it. This has been a longer review than I had planned on, but I had not planned on being so pleasantly surprised and thoroughly impressed with the IFI Go Pod. So absolutely, strong recommendation. Go pick up a pair of IFI Go Pods. This has been Hunter-Gray at Hunter-Gray-LUV-Music. Please, if you're getting any value from the channel, consider supporting through Patreon. Please like if the video has been good for you. That certainly helps the algorithm. And we would love to have you as a subscriber. Please join and share in the comments what your experiences are with the IFI Go Pod, and what do you hear in the difference between AAC versus LDAC, and the difference between Bluetooth with the Go Pods and wired. I never would have thought I would back away from my insistence on wired and CD quality. It's still important to me, but this portability and simplicity is super cool. Thank you for watching. Cheers for now.